Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all good in these troubled times. Obviously, this is becoming the norm now. So even have a conversation with someone who's not in your direct family is having a Zoom meeting. So we thought we'd capitalize on that this evening and have another one of our webinars. We try and do these regularly. There's been a bit of a gap between this one and the last one, just simply because of everyone at BRM seasons. They all collide at different times. Just to run, Rob's obviously head of coaching at Shrewsbury. He's on the call, be asking some of the questions. So I'm just coming off the back of an NWSL Fall series, and there's a few of our coaching staff who are deep into season with WSL and other academy teams. So tonight, I'm honoured to really that she's come on today. She's one of my closest friends in football. It's one of the cheesiest things ever, but it's true. So England's all-time goal scorer, women's all-time goal scorer in a World Cup. Ellen White's on tonight, so that's going to be really good. Rob's got some questions. I believe Ellen's already on, ready for us to go. So thank you very much to Els for coming on. This is no different to our weekly analysis chats. There's just a few more people on. and Rob's gate crash. So really, so the way tonight's going to work is quite simple. We've got a list of questions that myself and Rob have come up with, trying to get some insight into really elite performance and Ellen's career as a whole and how it sort of started to where it is now and hopefully in Olympics in the summer and all these different things. So COVID dependent, obviously. And then we've got some quick fire questions at the end. If you guys have any burning questions you want to get answered, put them in the chat. We haven't got Cam tonight. He's doing other things. So me and Rob have got to do the technical side between us. But Rob will look in the chat and fire any questions at the end. And we'll get going, really. So the first question.
So Ben, can I be selfish before you ask that question?
Yeah.
I've got off the little videos that we've just seen, Ellen. From 1 to 10, how excited were you when you scored against America?
About 100.
I'm guessing it was at least a 10. That was just from the little video clip we just saw.
Yeah. Would have liked the other one to go in as well, but yeah, that was a nice moment to score.
Yeah, it looked awesome. When I saw your face, I thought I must ask how exciting that was.
Just an average day, you know.
Of course, yeah. We've all been there, or maybe not.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
You're good, mate. Okay, so first question: what does your journey look like? And obviously, I've known you for the latter part, but I'm really interested in how it started. I know Rob's really interested in being someone in the academy game, how it started at the grassroots level. So what's it sort of look like?
Yeah. So I started playing football when I was probably about 5. Basically, I've got a really football crazy family. So mum, dad, brother, sister probably not so much, loving football. And I'm the youngest, so I got dragged to watch my brother play football. So I was on the sidelines, storming around and watching him play football. Basically, where I lived, which was Aylesbury, they didn't really have any kind of football centre or any kind of place for kind of like young boys, girls to play football. So my dad and one of his close friends decided to make like a little soccer centre. So they created Mini Ducks, and that was where I basically first started kind of playing football as like a 5-year-old, storming around, having fun, and yeah, just loving it really. And basically I moved from there. I played for my primary school team, my local boys team, which was Aylesbury Town, and I was the only girl on the team, which I loved actually. I loved playing in an all boys team, loved it. They were really great friends of mine. You know, we did have moments where the parents of the other teams were like, a girl playing on that team looks a bit strange, and then I just ran straight through and scored. So like, oh, okay. So, you know, I've only got amazing memories of my time being in a boys team, but basically I wasn't allowed to play past the age of 8, but I was very fortunate enough to be scouted at a local kind of 5-a-side, 7-a-side tournament while playing for Aylesbury Town to be selected for Arsenal Centre of Excellence. So that was an all girls environment and team. So yeah, you can imagine what an 8-year-old looked like when they went to play for Arsenal, got all the kit. I was like a kid in a candy store, like, this is mental. Like, we played at like Highbury, like we drive like an hour and a half, 2 hours to go train at Highbury, and you know, I was at Arsenal from 8 to 16. So I had some, you know, incredible memories at Arsenal. My dad was actually my coach for for some time as well, which was interesting. I yeah, it was challenging at times. I love him to death, but he loved to kind of shout quite a lot on the sidelines, and I used to run along the line telling my mum, like, tell him to stop yelling at me, please. Yeah, we had some really amazing memories. We went a whole season without conceding, without even losing a game. So yeah, we had an amazing team actually. And then when I was 16, I had the choice of basically it was either to go to Arsenal Academy or move clubs really. I knew that to go to Arsenal or to be part of Arsenal's first team was going to be a challenge. They had some phenomenal players at the time, and I wanted to kind of challenge myself, playing regularly, playing in first team, and exposing myself to playing in an all kind of in a senior kind of league really. So I moved to Chelsea and moved schools at the same time to do my A level. So that was quite a big decision for me in terms of completely out of my comfort zone. Making new friends, both at school and a new environment being at Chelsea where I literally knew nobody. But I think that was an amazing kind of journey for me in terms of just finding myself, confidence to speak to people. And obviously it was a senior environment as well. So that was a big one for my development as a player really. And then I was there for kind of 3 seasons. And then I moved to Leeds, which is a similar time to when I went to Loughborough Academy, where the FA had a scholarship program. So I trained and studied at the same time. Yeah, that was a really cool time really for me. And during that time, I was also kind of in the 17s and 19s with England. So experiencing life as an international as well. From Leeds, I went back to Arsenal because they folded, which was a shame. Went back to Arsenal for 3 amazing years. Notts County, Birmingham, and then Man City at the moment. I'm sure there is other stuff in there, obviously, making my senior debut, etc. But
can I
I don't want to talk for too long.
No, listen. I think listen. I mean, I'm sure there might be guys on here who know a little bit more about your background than I do. I didn't realise that you'd been at Arsenal, Chelsea before. I guess from probably Blues was where I probably really realised and knew a little bit more about you and whatever else. So that I find really interesting. I'm curious a little bit about going back further. So I'm sure there's people on here who've either been coached by their parents or are a parent who coaches.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in the impact of that and whether do you think that
watch me play and support me, so be a part of that journey, then yeah, it would have looked very different, I think. So yeah, I'm really proud of the journey that I've gone on with them alongside me. And I wouldn't say like pushing me, I'd just say like supporting me and encouraging me the whole way, really.
I'm also curious, Ellen, your thoughts around obviously playing boys football. And it was obviously you had to finish playing boys football at a younger age, whereas now they can play, girls and boys can play a little to an older age than you were doing at the time.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how do you think your journey may have either been better or different had you had the opportunity to play more mixed football or more girls only football and only been able to play? I'm just wondering the impact on what that looked like, and would it have been different perhaps if you had gone through that process 10 years later perhaps?
I think for me, I really enjoyed my time playing within a boys team, and I would have loved to have been a part of that boys team for a lot longer. Being exposed to lads essentially that are stronger, faster, quicker. The development of your game is going to improve. You're going to have to think on your feet. You're going to have to develop. You're going to have to move the ball quicker, get stronger. And I think that was an important part of my journey. And I think those girls that are able to do that, to be able to play in a boys team for a little bit longer than I did. I think it's great for your development, but I think it's also important to be exposed to an all girls environment as well. You know, it's an important one for your journey. To be involved in a team is essentially, for me, it's the best thing ever. You know, confidence building, you're making friends, you're going on a journey with people that you're gonna remember forever, really, and it's something that you can kind of look at each other and just be like, this is kind of amazing. So I would have loved to have been in a boys team for a little bit longer, but I would never change, you know, what it done for me at the same time in terms of going to Arsenal Centre of Excellence and playing for a girls team there.
Yeah. And last one, because I know we've got a few questions to get through, but I'm just thinking back to those times when you were, you know, Arsenal, Chelsea, the challenges that posed at the time. And would you have ever at the time probably dreamed that women's football would be where it is now? Such high profile, you know, superstars in your own right. Was that ever something that you probably ever thought would ever get to that point, or was it inevitable, do you think?
To be honest, it's not something when I was growing up, going through the ranks at Arsenal and moving to Chelsea, I wasn't thinking, I want to be like a massive role model or anything like that. I just absolutely love playing football. Yeah. I did get to go to America when I was kind of 9-10 and get to kind of experience what it was like in America at the time in terms of soccer and how big it was then. I know it's huge out there now, but their professional league was flying at the time. I'm a massive like Mia Hamm fan, so you know, I got to kind of meet her. I got to see Kelly Smith out there playing, who's a massive idol for me, but you know, I got to play alongside her, which was a dream. So yeah, I never really thought at the time that it was going to grow, but obviously I'm really proud of the journey that I've been able to kind of help a little bit with, you know, increasing the exposure of women's football, the visibility of women's football, helping to grow the game. Obviously our league's getting bigger and better internationally as well. So yeah, I think hopefully there's some really great things moving forward for women's football, hopefully.
Without a doubt. Thank you for that.
That's right.
Sorry, Ben.
You're always good on these things. You never know where the actual question ends up, do you? So
I do like a question.
So you've sort of touched on this a bit with Mia Hamm. Players you admired when you were younger, and why did you admire them?
I think the Mia Hamm one came from Bend It Like Beckham, a little bit. She was mentioned on there, but also from traveling over to America as well, and you know, being exposed to the American soccer out there, the American team and what they've achieved. But also, you know, I played for Arsenal and I was a massive Kelly Smith fan. Obviously, she went to America quite young as well, was in the professional league. So that's someone that I did admire. But I've got some random ones actually for the men's league. I loved Gary Lineker, goal scorer, never got a yellow card. I can't really go by that, which is disappointing. But yeah, I think he was a fantastic goal scorer, prolific. And then another random one was Edgar Davids. Wow. I loved him growing up. Had like a picture of him on my wall, which I loved the Holland team back then. Loved the kit, the players, the way they played football. So yeah, it's probably a bit of a random. I've gone from like Kelly Smith, Mia Hamm, Gary Lineker to Edgar Davids, but I thought he was a pretty cool player when I was a little bit younger.
What was it about him in particular? I can see the Lineker thing. I can see the Mia Hamm thing. I get that. What about? Because listen, I would probably agree with you that he was, you know, what a player he was. But what was it about him? Because that would be interesting.
Do you know what? I think initially it was because he wore glasses and I wore glasses. I think that was what drew me in to start with. But I think he was technically gifted. I loved the way that he played football. Super passionate. And I really enjoyed watching kind of Holland play, and the way that they moved the ball. And just their style of play, I really enjoyed. But I think the main thing that drew me was because I also wore glasses before. I'd love to wear glasses when I'm playing football. Like, I wish I could do that type of thing. So that's the main thing that drew me in, and I had a picture of him on the wall as well. So.
Brilliant, love that. Thank you. And how cool was it then to equal, because Lineker scored 6 World Cup goals, right? And
Yeah.
obviously Kane has scored 6 World Cup. How cool was it then to equal that 6-goal World Cup record as an England centre forward?
Amazing. Yeah, it's something that you kind of dream of really as a kid to go to a World Cup and to score, but to come back and score 6 goals was amazing. But then again, on the flip side, I would give them all away to have won the World Cup. So it's like, yeah, I'll always be proud of scoring for England. I've said it numerous times that it's a dream for me to play for England. I hope everyone can see how passionate and how much I love playing for England and scoring goals. So yeah, it was a dream to be able to do that, and alongside Gary Lineker and Harry Kane, who are 2 phenomenal players.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And so did you hear from Mr. Lineker after equaling his goal scoring record?
I didn't actually. We had a conversation. We had a conversation with Alan Shearer actually. So that was pretty cool. That was all right. I'll take that.
He was okay, wasn't he? He was all right.
He was average. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ben. Sorry again.
No, you're good, mate. I enjoy listening to the conversation. So, Rob, do you want to take us on from here? A couple of questions you've raised.
So there's a couple that I'm really I'm interested in all of them, but I spend all my time with coaches and supporting coaches and working with coaches. Obviously, with the bigger picture being that if we can get better coaches, then that's going to influence the players and their career development. So you've touched a little bit on parents' influence and stuff, and obviously Dad was a coach and whatever else.
Yeah.
Outside of parents, who's influenced the journey, and what did that influence look like, and what influence do you think it had in terms of where you're at now?
I think there's numerous, really. I think Vic Akers was a big one at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Obviously, he built an incredible legacy at Arsenal ladies. And when I was there, actually, when I left at age 16, he was so lovely that he was literally like, you're always welcome back with open arms, Ellen. And I actually did go back after Leeds folded. So he was a big influence on me in terms of the way that he built such an amazing kind of football team, but also his communication skills, the way he, treated every player individually, and was such an amazing kind of influence of that way. I'd say kind of Mo Marley. She just retired, which I'm really sad about actually, but she was such a phenomenal kind of influence on my career. She selected me for under 19s, and she really developed me as not just a player, but a person. Leadership skills, strike up, movement, not just on the pitch, off the pitch. And we've kept in contact as well, and she was a really great influence on me kind of growing up, especially in my international career. And I'll be forever thankful for what she kind of did for me, which is very similar to kind of Hope Powell as well. She gave me my England debut, and something that I'll always be really thankful for. But she believed in me, so that is something that I'll always be kind of cherish, really, because to make your England senior debut is an incredible feeling, really. And she really believed in me, gave me a lot of confidence and belief to play on the international stage, and I'll always be really thankful for that. And then I'd say you could talk. Phil will probably be really annoyed if I don't mention him, really. I think Phil was a big one, really, in terms of like changing my mindset of being in. It's easy to say, but being in the width of the 18-yard box to score goals. But it was a different mindset for me, because I love to be involved. I love to run around and be enthusiastic, and I want to be on the ball, but essentially my job is to score goals. So it was a little bit of a different mindset, and it did come to fruition at the World Cup. And probably I'd say, cheesy as it is, I'd say Ben's had a big influence on my career, in terms of not just, we're really great, we're good friends, but I think what we've developed in terms of analysis, our understanding, and what he kind of has brought to my game, and the analysis side is amazing for me to help me develop. And we've talked about it before about those 1%ers, especially as I'm getting a bit older, the 1%ers of your improvement and your development, your movement, you're being in the right areas at the right time, you're finishing, and analysing goalies and defenders. So yeah.
Brilliant. I'm curious then, and this might start to feed into the next question because it kind of crosses over. What sort of common traits did those? So you've mentioned all those different people, and I suppose I thought Mo Marley might get a mention. There's been lots of stuff being out on social media and stuff over the last probably 3 or 4 days, hasn't there, with her retiring and stuff. And it's all really positive, and everything you read from the players that talk about how she helped them, how she supported the belief she gave them, and so on. What are some of the common traits between? So you talk about Phil Neville, Mo Marley, Hope Powell. What were the common traits that they had? Were the common things that they did that maybe make them stick out as the 3 or 4 you mentioned?
To be honest, they're 3 very different individuals. Okay. Mo was more of a, like, she was very much about the individual. So there's I actually messaged her when she retired. I messaged this, basically she got me in the meeting room and basically had videos up of me just constantly like moving my hair constantly in a game, and she's going, "That's all you're doing, Ellen. That's all you're doing. It's moving your hair. Like, you need to sort out, like, we'll need you focus on the pitch, not moving your hair." So from then on I had to just wear pre-wrap. And it was just like those tiny like details that she went kind of above and beyond, really. It was probably silly, but you know, that focus was taken off from doing something else in the game. So it was that individual aspect of wanting to improve a player, but in a completely different way to anyone that I've ever worked with before. And she always wanted you to be better, the communication, striving to be a better person and a better kind of footballer. Hope was a little bit different, obviously. She was a little bit more like not less communication, but she was more about this is it, you know, facts and figures, that type of thing, which I really respect. I like to be given a goal or something to work on, and she always did give that to me. I want something to strive for. I want to have a goal to achieve. I want something in training that I need to be focused on. And I think that's a really important one for me. And I suppose Phil's a bit of a mixture of them both, really. The communication side, the wanting to work on specific parts of my game to be really focused. So I say he was probably a mixture of both, really.
And I guess actually that's those little details, isn't it? So even like you laugh when you tell the story about flicking your hair and all that stuff. But actually that potentially is a really important little detail. And again, you talk about that little 1% or less than 1% potentially. Yeah. That's arguably a really key detail that would meant you were maybe not focusing on the things you need to focus on. So, which for 100%. Me is great coaching. Just flash the next question up, Ben, because I think I've sort of touched on it, and I have got a follow up. So this talks about attributes of coaches, and we just touched on it a little bit. If you could pinpoint, so for you as an individual, what you think the key attributes coaches should have and need to really support players to get the best out of them. If you were to pick 3 or 4 top things, what are they? What do coaches really need to get the best out of players?
I think the first one has to be communication. So, but that's a 2-way thing. So that's not just the coach coming up to you as an individual. That's you going up to the coach and being like, what do you want from me? How do I fit into your team? How can I get into the team if you're not playing? What do you think I need to work on? What can I do to improve? And then essentially making a plan and making that come to fruition within training, whether that's drills or such like, really. I think communication's a massive one. I think you know, being a good person as well. I think being able to take football out of the equation sometimes, I think, is an important role to have, and not just be football. It's, you know, we're people as well. You know, to be able to have that communication as well. And also, I think that the technical, tactical aspect, they need to be hopefully very good at that. But be able to kind of distributed to a number of different players who have different ways of learning. I'm definitely a visual learner, so if you're on the tactics board, I'll be like, probably need to see it on the pitch really, or if you're talking it through, I'm definitely a visual learner. So it's having that aspect as well to meet everyone's needs really, and to be, I think, really detailed in the way that you do coach. I'm not saying I'm a coach or anything, but for me, I'm very much on like details, or what can I do, that slight movement, the body shape, and being detailed in that aspect as well.
Brilliant. And that leads me on to my next one a little bit. So just flash the next one, Ben, because I think I'm also aware of time. And listen, I don't. It's obviously that you've got plenty of years left yet, and you can, play as long as you can. We always say to people, but is it something you've ever thought about or not, or any do you ever aspire to maybe one day you might have a little go at it?
I'm probably going to say no.
Right.
I think I'm quite impatient.
Okay.
I do really like the challenge or the aspect of striker being really specific, like a striker coach or something like that. I really do. Like, me and Ben have spoken so many times about what it takes to be a striker, and the elements and the movement, the drills to put on. So that aspect's quite interesting, but I think coming a coach isn't for me really. I think definitely, I think I'd be way too impatient for it, to be honest. As much as I've probably got so many things I want to say, I probably wouldn't be able to explain them very well.
Okay, I'm cool with that. So I'm curious then. So this is like an add-on, I guess, before I'll give Ben the mic back. But so there's been over the past few years, obviously there's been some changes since with lockdown and changes of staff at the FA and so on. But there was a period of time where the sort of specialist coaching model became really prominent. In possession coach, out of possession coach. Even Liverpool have got a throw-in coach, haven't they, that works with them, and all this kind of stuff. Have you been exposed to that at all? And if you have, what's your experience of that been? And if you haven't, do you think it would have been useful to have a very specific someone to work with you as a striker, or what's that look like?
Yeah, we had a couple of sessions with England. They had like a specialised kind of striker coach essentially to look at movement, specific drills for you as an individual, to on a numerous different finishes. But then I think I've also, when I was at Birmingham actually, I think Mark Skinner was really great at creating sessions very specific to me as a striker. I think that was, and I'm sure Ben helped create some of them sessions. They were, definitely helpful and helped me achieve, the amount of goals I scored that season. The awkward finishes, quite random kind of sessions, but were really kind of influential within games. So you're almost like not even thinking about it. And I think those sessions are really good to be doing as a striker. Just like throwing a ball and trying to get any part of your body, obviously not arms, but any part of your body to connect with the ball to essentially score a goal. Just being a little bit out of your comfort zone. I think they're really good sessions.
I think it's really important. And obviously, there's coaches on this listening to your talk tonight, and I think I talk to our coaches all the time about how are you recreating all those, particularly if you're working with the forwards, how are you recreating all those different finishes that might occur, so that when it happens, the horrible bobbly one that bounces up round your knees and you don't expect it, and somehow you've got to bundle it into the goal and all that. How do we really recreate those scenarios enough? We love the bounce it off somebody and finish and all those nice finishes, but actually do we really work hard enough at recreating all those little moments? And actually, when you get to the top level, them are the moments that potentially going to make the difference, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, really good. Love that. Thanks for that. Really interesting insight. Ben, I think you've got a few more to follow up with.
Cool. I will say definitely on the Mark Skinner thing, he was very good at creating those sessions. Also, the pitch we trained on was a mud bath, so it really helped create those. Rob, you've been to Odd Stills, it was like it really creating those awkward finishes. So it's definitely down mainly to the coaching, but the pitch was definitely on a cold Monday morning in February helpful in those bobbly finishes that ended up around your head and you couldn't work out how. So
love that.
Definitely had a part to play in that one. So
There's also been a couple of questions in the chat that I'll get in as well. They're quite good questions actually, so I'll get them in at some
Cool.
point towards the end as well.
So, if any of you listen to the High Performance podcast, this is the reworded question from them. So, what does elite performance mean to you? I consider you as someone that I've worked with who is probably the elitist person I work with in regards to the overall as an athlete. So, what does it mean to you?
I think elite performance is first and foremostly probably the easiest thing to say, but it's quite hard to do, very hard to do, is performing consistently at the highest level, week in, week out, or whatever kind of sport you do, to consistently perform at the highest level, which, you know, is challenging. And for me, it's all those little bits that for me make like a high performing athlete. So I've talked about the 1%ers before. So it's nutrition, it's sleep. And for me, I'm probably like the saddest person ever that comes home and they've got the Compex on, they've got a massage gun, they're foam rolling, they're stretching, and it's probably quite sad, but you know, that essentially helps me perform, recover. You know, I've got like a reformer in my house, like a portable reformer for Pilates, which has been really influential for me over the last 2 or 3 years, which has kind of given me another percentage really. And then it's doing things on the pitch really. First and foremost, you have to work hard every day, and that's a given, but it's doing those extras. So we've spoken before about those sessions with the awkward finishes. It's asking for more really, but to the point where you're not overloading yourself. So for me, it's been a real challenge. I've been a player that's probably done too much quite many times in my career. So for me, it's almost like saying after a session, you've got five balls, and you've got a shooting drill to do with 5 balls, and essentially you have to make everyone count. And so after that 5, if it hasn't gone well, I've still got to walk in. Do you know what I mean? And then it's on me to then be like, right, what did I do? Was my movement off? Was it this? Was it that? Or if I'm doing 5, you know, I've got to put everything into those 5 to make them the best that they can be, because in a game, how many are you really going to get opportunities? Potentially you could get 5, potentially you could get 1. So it's kind of living in that mindset of constantly training as if you're playing, and then the extras are, again, how many opportunities are going to get in a game? Are you going to make them count, or are you going to walk away wanting to volley everything in sight as you walk back to the change rooms? That type of thing.
Oh, nice one. So moving on from that,
I've got another one, sorry, off that. Yeah, I'm just making me think about, so what separates the elite from the rest then, Ellen? So there's good and there's elite, isn't there? There's a lot of very good footballers.
Yeah.
There's less elite footballers. So what is it that really separates and makes the difference?
I think for me, it's mindset. It's waking up every day, striving to be the best or better than you were yesterday. It's that mindset of, like, you can switch off, but essentially 365 days a year you are wanting to be the best, and it's the mindset of wanting to constantly strive to be better and better and better. And that doesn't necessarily mean training every day. That means doing everything in and around that. Whether that's not going out, whether that's sitting on the sofa, you're trying to relax, you're trying to chill, you're not moving around too much, whether that is doing extra stretching, whether that is analysing your game. It's waking up every day and wanting to be better.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted sort of your thoughts. I'm curious about how much sacrifice has there been over the years, do you think?
Too much.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I've missed numerous birthdays, weddings. I can't even count really. I have got a very, supportive family, but they do stitch me up with a lot of guilt at the same time. Like a family holiday, I missed a family holiday for like my mum's 60th, and it was just they put me in the group chat, and it was just absolutely horrendous. Like all the pictures of them on holiday, and then me and my husband are back home, like, cheers guys, just training again. But no, they do understand. So, but yeah, it is really hard, but
yeah, I can imagine.
you know, hopefully it's making them proud. So that's
absolutely
amazing.
right. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Sorry, Ben.
Right.
No worries, mate. It's good listening to different, and all these questions lead on. You could have a million other questions, couldn't you? So I'm really interested in, obviously, we are an analysis company, supposedly. Occasionally, when we're not knocked down, we can actually
Really
go and film people and not stuck 8,000 miles away in Florida. So how has it changed throughout your career? Obviously, I know a lot about the latter stages from sort of Birmingham onwards, but I get coaches come up to me all the time. How do I do analysis when I've got no budget, no expensive software, no laptop? So how did it sort of like start pre WSL of 3 years ago, as an example?
I think, well, we used to do like a analysis, obviously, after games of watching clips or being given kind of the game to look over. But you know, I'm not gonna lie, kind of a good few years ago, I wasn't going to sit there and watch the game. It wasn't for me. And it wasn't until I want to say like Birmingham, or even going into like the England seniors, really. Probably even kind of 5 years into being in the England seniors, that I really kind of got to grips of kind of individual analysis, really looking at your game, improving your movements, how can you get better? And, you know, working closely with Ben at Birmingham, you know, we really started to get really interested in it. And then I could see what it was doing to my game, and how I was thinking away from the game. And I think it was a really important kind of aspect for me to really get involved with. And I've said it numerous times on here, just those 1%ers really to get better, and just change my game, adapt my game, and just improve. I'm really critical of myself, so you know, it's also good to have someone else to chat about and to think about different things. And those 1%ers for me were like, how can I score against the goalie that we're going up against next weekend? What are their attributes? And me and Ben would talk about it, would look over it, and then in training, you know, I'd almost try and implement it in a couple of days before the game, to try and get into that focus and that mindset of what I was going to come up against. And I think that was a really important thing for me, especially, well, we still do it now, and now we've moved in kind of like defenders and shape and stuff like that now.
And the biggest example, go on, Rob, what you got?
No, go on, finish your bit, I've got one in a minute. It's all right.
The biggest example I can give to the people watching this is for the World Cup pre-France 2019, we basically, myself and Alan, sat down in a very famous coffee shop in Knoll, and basically planned all the possible goalkeepers that Ellen could face in the World Cup, and just went, right, this week is Norway, this week is Scotland, this week is USA, and just got to a stage where we must have bored each other of goalkeeping clips. But I'd like to think it had some impact on Ellen's performance in the World Cup. However, I say to coach, you still have to put the ball in the back of net. Like, you still have to be in the right place, with the right teammates, with the right mentality, with the right fitness and the right psychological factors to put the ball in the net. But we covered so many goalkeepers to a stage that we were looking at USA's fourth keeper who didn't even turn up to the entire competition. So it's just having the time, I think, as an athlete, and some do and some don't. And it very much depends on the person. You tend to see it more with the more senior players, because they want that extra 1%, 2%, because it might be their final move in football. It might be their one big opportunity. Whereas the younger players feel that they've got more time to learn and develop. And also, and I have this constant battle with Carl, who's our S&C coach, who's a good friend of mine. How long can they stay on the pitch for, as in physically doing sessions? But if they can't, if they're being managed, can they do stuff in the video room? Can they do stuff on an iPad? So all these little 1%ers that may impact other things, massive, especially in strikers. Go on, Rob.
I think, listen, just to follow on from that before I put my question in, it's just another coaching session, isn't it? It's just in a different form, in a different facility, but it's another form of coaching, isn't it? And I think that's if you've got access to it, that's probably the way to see it. I'm curious, just in terms of use of analysis for you then, Ellen. How much focus on yourself and how much focus on like opposition, say? So Ben's given an example there of a lot of focus around potential opposition or opposition,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously had an impact based on, or you would from the outside looking in think it's had an impact based on goals scored and so on in that tournament. But how much focus on yourself when you analyse stuff? So your movements, types of finish, whatever, and how much focus on maybe the centre half you're coming up against or the goalie you're coming up against and that sort of stuff.
So we'd look at kind of my clips from the previous game, of what I did well movement wise, was I in the right position, holding up the ball. I think, you know, before the season starts, we almost do like what we want to work on or look at going into the season. So, you know, for me as like a 9, you want to be able to hold the ball up against centre halves, you want to be able to set it, you want to be able to spin, you want to be able to move, the right movements going behind, the right movement on a cross, and then also the different finishes as well. So we do look at the clips after a game, and then say, you know, what I could have done a lot better, which is quite a lot, probably every game. And then, you know, moving into a game at the weekend, we'll look at the goalie, and also, you know, the centre half or the centre halves, even the back four really, of how they move, and what are their attributes as well.
Yeah, fascinating. How much do you think it's brought to your career?
I think a lot. I think loads, especially, you know, in the last probably three or 4 years, especially as I'm getting a little bit older as well, slightly adapting my game, you know, especially, you know, spoken about Phil, you know, slightly not being more selfish, it's being more ruthless, I'd say the word would be, especially in saving energy in the right areas. I'm a stickler for wanting to press everything, wanting to run all over the pitch, you wanting to do anything to help the team essentially, but to help the team I need energy in the right areas, and I think that's been a big one for me. You know, as much as it pains me because, you know, I want to do everything, it is the right thing because my job is to score goals and be in the right place.
Absolutely.
And not be storming around trying to fly in a challenge at left centre half or something.
Yeah, love that. Brilliant. I think fascinating insights. Really good stuff. I know there's one more, I think, planned question, isn't there, Ben? But I've got these couple that I will drop in after that if it's on there.
Rob, do you
there you go. Yeah. So go on then. Some top tips for. So listen, I work with lots of young strikers in our club. I'm sure coaches on here work with lots of young strikers or players that think they're strikers, perhaps. Go on then. What are the top tips to end up being a, you know, 6 goals in a World Cup, etc.? What's the top tip?
Just score loads of goals, really. Just be really selfish. I think the first one is to listen to your coaches. I think that's a really important one. To really listen to the tactics, to the information that they're giving. I think that's really important. The next one would be within training. I think I've spoken about it before, is not just do or ask for the sessions that are just touch and finish. There's so many different ways to score goals. So it's being disciplined to ask for more or something different. So I've said about the awkward finishes, like heading the ball. Can you strike with both feet, left and right? Laces, side foot, knee, thigh, chest. There's so many ways that you can score a goal, not just with your right or left foot, which I found at the World Cup. Actually, I was like, oh, I do have a left foot in the end. I think that's really important. You know, young kind of strikers or young players being able to head the ball, being able to use both feet is a really important attribute to have. And I'd say the main one is just to work hard and have fun. I think just enjoy it. Like I go to training and it's similar to when I got kit when I was at Arsenal. I'm like a kid in a candy store. Like obviously sometimes I'm not always happy-go-lucky, but pretty much every day I'm just smiling, having fun, because I'm in a very privileged situation of being a professional footballer and getting to play football every day. So definitely have fun and enjoy it. Yeah, that'd be the main ones really.
I think we for obviously some of the people who are listening weren't involved in the little chat we had beforehand, but we talked about that that element of fun and enjoyment, and the importance of that element of fun and enjoyment, and not losing that. And it can get lost
Mhm.
sometimes, can't it? If
Yeah.
it can get we can do it. We can be guilty of it as coaches, probably.
Yeah.
And I'm sure players maybe sometimes putting too much pressure on themselves, but actually that element of, that's why we all do it, isn't it? Whether you're coaching or playing, that's kind of why we started.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we did speak before, and I said, like, there's been times in my career where, you know, it's been mentally challenging, you know, over analyzing your performance. You're not playing so well, maybe you're not being selected, maybe you're not playing every game, and it's about, yeah, thinking about why you started at the first place. Go back to basics of just have fun in training, work hard, and it's just doing all the fundamentals right, and hopefully that everything will come right in the end. But yeah, it's going back to just have a smile on your face and have fun.
Great advice, that. Was that the last pre-planned question, Ben? Because we're doing really well for time. We're bang on. Okay, so hold fire on them, because there's a couple in the chat that are quite good. I think potentially quite relevant. So one of the questions, Ellen, in the chat is around any advice for players who are having to come back from an injury.
I've never been injured in my career. No, I'm joking. I've had too many injuries. Yeah, it's a challenging one. You know, I've experienced long-term injuries, so I've done both ACLs in both knees. You know, I broke my collarbone. I've had a stress fracture in my back. You know, it's the part and parcel of playing sport is potentially that you're going to get injured. So for me, it's about trying to have, you know, a good support network, whether that's friends, family, or anyone really that you want to talk to you know, speak about how you're feeling. It's not a bad thing to have feelings. You know, definitely I've been in moments where I've been injured and just you know, crying because I'm not back on the pitch. But everyone's going to go through those moments. So it's about doing the little things right and just setting yourself really kind of short-term goals and not being too bogged down in that main goal of football or whatever sport you play, of that main goal of being on the pitch playing a game. It's having those little goals of am I walking, am I be able to do a little bit in the gym, am I able to jog, pass the ball, that type of thing. Just having those short-term goals and really celebrating them when you do hit those milestones. I think they're really important. But yeah, just trying to have a really good support network as well is important.
Yeah, brilliant. There's another really great question. I think it's about what age did you start to specialise as a striker? So there's lots of stories, isn't there, of, I don't know, Fernando Torres was a goalkeeper, and all these stories that you hear about different players who, you know, started there and ended up there and whatever else. So when did you specialise? What other positions did you play, perhaps, as a kid?
Yeah.
Was it always going to be a striker, or how did that come about?
Yeah, well, I played numerous positions really. I played forward when I was younger, played midfield, played both wings, and played the 10, played the 9. So yeah, I haven't played 10.5 yet. I feel like as a bit maybe older, I should probably move back, but I haven't, luckily. When did I specialise? To be honest, I've gone through my career playing. I always knew that I wanted to be a 9, and you know, I've been to numerous clubs where I've been kind of played out wide, because, you know, having attributes of being able to cut in or cross the ball, or, you know, you can still score goals from outside the wing, being on the wing as well. So for me, it was just about, I loved playing football. I wanted to play for that team, or especially for England. I went through the whole Euros in 2017 playing left wing in a 4-4-2. But I loved every minute because I was playing for England, and you're essentially doing something to help the team win. But it does come to the point where you kind of, if you know that you're a 9 and that's your position. For me, it was about going up to the manager and being like, that's my position and I'm going to fight to play that position. Which is what I did with Mark, and also with Phil as well, on the international stage. Of, you know, I'm fighting to be the 9, and that's the position that I believe I've got the best attributes to be that number 9. And it was, working hard on the training pitch to prove myself and in games, really.
How difficult were those conversations?
They were, well, I wouldn't say they were difficult. That, you know, managers have different opinions, and obviously if they want you to do a job somewhere else, you're not going to say, no, I'm all right, I won't play for England today, type of thing. So it is challenging, because you want to play your position, but I'll do anything to play for England. So you know, if I was playing left wing, right wing, number 10, you know, I do everything, work hard, and give my best, but you know, I knew that kind of 9 was my position. So yeah, I think it was important for me to have that conversation, being like, I'll do anything. And what do you see a 9? What attributes do you see a 9 having? Because I'm going to work hard to get those attributes to prove that I am a 9 for England, or 9 for whatever club that I'm at.
Yeah, brilliant. Love that. That's really good insight. Thank you. Are we going to do these quick fire ones, Ben? We've done really well. It's 4 minutes to 8. We've done it. It's really good.
Time we've ever been, mate.
Are you doing these, or am I doing them?
I'll do them. So, your favourite ever forward player, Els? You've mentioned a few. You got to pick one.
I might say a completely different one. I might say Haaland at the moment.
Ooh.
I do really like him. Obviously, there's so many different forwards, but at the moment, I'd say Haaland. I really like the way that he plays. His movement, his speed. I like the way Dortmund play as well. But yeah. I know it's a bit random, but
no. Listen, he's got a fair career in front of him, right? He looks like he can be a player. Well, he's a player already, but he's got half a chance. Love it. Good choice. Go on, Ben.
Favourite sports film?
Does Bend It Like Beckham count?
Probably.
I'm trying to think of other sports films.
That's pretty loose as a sports film.
What is this? What other ones are there? My mind's gone blank.
I'm going down the Coach Carter route, things like that.
Oh yeah, okay, that's a very good one.
Things like that sort of stuff. Listen, I guess Bend It Like Beckham.
Moneyball was.
There you go.
A sporty one?
That's a sporty one. Moneyball. Yeah, I like that. I'll go with that.
Okay.
Recommend one book on anything.
I'm the cheesiest kind of book reader ever. I really liked Zlatan's book, Ibrahimovic's book.
Okay. Why?
I just found it to be a really interesting insight into him as a person, him as a kind of sports person. I just found it quite interesting.
Not very confident, is he?
No. Probably needs a book on confidence.
I would imagine he probably needs a bit of help with his confidence, yeah, for sure.
Okay. All-time England 11.
So you're stitching me up on this one, because there's going to be some very unhappy people.
I won't
okay. In goal, Karen Bardsley.
You can pick yourself, obviously.
Oh, I won't be picking myself.
Oh, okay. All right.
Karen Bardsley in goal. Right back, Lucy Bronze. Centre halves, Steph Horton and Faye White.
Yeah.
Left back, Rachel Unit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, midfield, blimey. Farrah Williams.
What formation you're playing?
I'm just going for a standard 4-3-3.
Okay.
I should have maybe gone for a 3-5-2, because then I got more midfielders. Oh well. Okay, Farrah, Fran Kirby, Kelly Smith. Blimey. And I'm going Rachel Yankee.
Yeah.
Who should I go right? Oh, this is really hard.
It's a tough question.
Rob came up with this.
I think who I've played in a team with. What other players are there?
If you're going off the World Cup, you got Beth Mead, Nikita Paris. Trying to think of some.
Oh yeah. I'll go Beth on the right. And
9.
Forward. Karen Walker.
Ooh,
nice.
good work.
Very impressive.
That's a tough question, that, isn't it? That's a really hard thing to answer, I think.
That's savage, that one is.
Really
It's
difficult.
mean.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
agree.
your
I agree.
best and worst moment as a player.
Best moment as a player was it's got to be making my England debut and scoring.
Who was that against, and when was that, Ellen?
It was against Austria in 2010, March 2010.
Wow, brilliant.
That's not the information I normally remember. To be fair, that was quite lucky, that one.
No, I like that.
Worst moment as a player would be I think missing out on the under-20s World Cup when I got my first ACL injury. You know, I've had a lot of injuries in my career, but that would be, yeah, missing out on that and having to watch it on a laptop in my student halls wasn't really fun, and doing rehab by myself wasn't really fun. But those are the moments that really kind of make you or break you. So I think that did kind of change my mentality of wanting and fighting and working even harder, really.
Love that. Good
Best
answer.
player played with, best player played against.
Oh, this is a tough one because I've got a few, really.
There's some good players about, right?
I'd say like Kim Little's up there with the best player I've ever played with. Kelly Smith. Then I think, well, being a 9, I think that relationship and having like a number 10 there, even like Fran, she's really like flying at the moment. So having like a number 10 that's so creative and through balls and I could create a number 10. Best player played against. It's gonna have to be a centre half, isn't it? Well, I always hated playing against Steph. It wasn't really fun. But someone like Becky Sauerbrunn for USA is always like a challenging one. Their back line is always challenging. And even like the France back line of like Wendy Renard. It's always a challenge because they're physical, they're good on the ball, and it's always for me it's always like a cat and mouse game of who's going to come out better, really.
Brilliant.
So
great answers. Love that. Listen, we've done this way. It's just only just gone 8 o'clock. We're banged on time. Selfishly for me, Ellen, listen, it's not every day you get a chance to have a conversation with an England centre forward and pick their brains and find out a little bit about where they're at and what makes them tick. For me, it's been fascinating. So selfishly, I would just sort of say thank you from my own point of view. Never mind anybody else, but I think it's been, if you don't go away from it, taking away a few little nuggets, then maybe people haven't listened properly. So fascinating. Really, really appreciate your time. It's been brilliant.
no, thank you. It's been cool.
Cool. So
over to you, Ben.
Just to finish up, obviously this is being recorded. Hopefully, if Zoom is nicer, we will make it available to people on our website. You will get an email in the next 24 to 48 hours of that. You will also, hopefully, me and Rob are working hard getting our next webinar guest sorted, which will be in a completely different sport. Hopefully, if all goes to plan, we're just waiting on a few more bits confirmed, and then we'll bring you the news of that one. So massive thanks to Rob again for jumping on and asking questions and keeping the conversation flowing. That's always really helpful. And massive thanks to Els. We're actually going to stay on now, probably look at goalkeepers for the next 90 hours of our life. So, yeah.
You do know England are playing as well now, don't you?
Are they? I don't even know.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Well, you'll go watch Danny Ings. So what a striker he is. So, yeah, massive thanks to everyone for coming on. Really appreciate it. It's been a really good evening. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed it. I know there's a lot of clubs watching this after it's been recorded.